leaving you today. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, all you people. There's nothing you can say to make me change my mind. Goodbye.
Hey out there, 4th of July, 2015. And I'm off the Skyway in Northern California. It's a road that goes between Paradise and Chico. And it's a popular spot because it's got a great view, as you can see. Beautiful canyon and bluffs and the foothills to the Sierra in the background. But, you know, today I wanted to talk about a lot of things, current events, and point out how ridiculous and ludicrous what we call a reality is. And how the truth of the matter is that reality is about 180 degrees different from what we are experiencing. Now this morning I'm a little fired up. I was just watching a video on the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. And Alex had Peter Schiff on as a guest, and he is, I guess, an asset manager. And you know, I was compelled to leave several comments, and one quite lengthy one, and I felt put out to have to leave these comments and correct Peter time after time again. And you know, if I could meet Peter Schiff and we could have a debate on economic principles, I can guarantee that I would win that debate. And it's not because I'm smarter than Peter, it's just because when you're wrong, you're wrong. And, you know, I don't know if he understands how elitist he comes across and how stupid it is to blame the effect of the economic problems we see all around the world on the people least deserving, to have it blamed on them. This is the effect. Impoverishment of the masses is the effect. And how do you lift the masses out of poverty? Well, you've got to have employment for one thing. And Greece doesn't have that. People want to complain about, you know, people retiring at 56. Well, maybe they need to retire at 36 if there's not enough work to satisfy the people. So you see the whole thing, the entire economic reality is invented. And fundamentally, I don't know if Peter knows that. If he does, he's not coming across very well in terms of teaching people about egalitarianism as opposed to, you know, this elitist philosophy of, you know, having the different classes. So you've got this upper class that stays there, and the way they stay there is by subjugating the lower class, the commoners. But the jobs the commoners are doing are absolutely critical, essential jobs to keep the wheels of society turning. So in all reality, you've got to admit that you know, these people do not deserve to be subjugated. You know, I don't mean to belittle anybody. That's not the object. That's not going to make me feel better. I'm just upset. And I feel like an alien sometimes, that so few people really seem to understand this issue. But you know, if we were talking, having a discussion, a debate about what came first, the chicken or the egg, okay, we can do that. That's fair. Okay, how did God do it? Did he just, boom, did he create a chicken and make the egg come out of the chicken? Or did he just make an egg, an embryo, and then have the chicken come out of the egg? In which case, I guess he would have had to fertilize it cosmically, whatever. Because there was no rooster. Maybe there's a rooster, I don't know. You know, so we could debate the whole thing. But when you're talking about things like a cost of living adjustment and workers wanting to keep pace with the cost of living, which they haven't done for decades. I'm 57. My whole life it's been going the other way. If you don't have a commensurate, a proportional wage adjustment to what's happening with your real cost of living. And I'm talking about those commodities we can't get away from. Things like shelter, primarily. Forget the food. Okay, let's just, those are the food and water. Yes, we need those things. But let's focus on shelter. We absolutely need that. That's a matter of fact. That's not debatable. It's incontrovertible, irrefutable. That's a fact. So looking at it like that, then you have to say, okay, well, fine. So Peter thinks that what? People should just be free to build wherever they want to build if nobody's living there. I mean, you can't just have a man live on a planet and not have certain rights, entitlements. That's what a right is. It's an entitlement. And among those entitlements has to be the right to exist. And in order to exist, you've got to build a shelter. You've got to have a shelter. It's either got to be provided for you, you've got to either afford it, or then you've just got to be able to possess some land so that you can live on it. I mean, it's really a no-brainer. And time after time, I feel like people don't understand this fundamental issue, because what's happened in our society relates directly to the housing and how that market has been so acutely, so severely manipulated to the nth degree. And the whys and wherefores and all the different special interest groups that benefit from that market manipulation in that industry. But that's all you need. When you have jacked up the price of something so much that people can't afford to purchase it anymore, they're dying en masse out on the streets. And believe me, there's not welfare out there to take care of all the dying masses of citizens too. Okay, remember, those are native sons and daughters of ours dying in America on the street. As a matter of fact, 10-year waiting list for housing subsidies, which go to the landlords and help the whole industry keep the prices high, because it's a subsidized industry. It's a quasi-governmental industry if you're a landlord. Oh boy, and all the people connected to that too. So, because they are, whether they say, well, I don't accept Section 8 residents. Well, it doesn't matter. You're a beneficiary of that market manipulation, of that subsidy, because your prices would not be nearly so high if it wasn't being subsidized. So inadvertently, you're benefiting from it. So there's all these people that benefit, but the majority now in California are not benefiting anymore. The majority of Californians are renting. That means they're poor by virtue of the fact that home ownership has always been the best metric, the best gauge of prosperity. So they're not prosperous. So by default, that makes them poor, okay? And these are the ones that don't have an interest in housing prices going up. These are the ones that have an interest in housing costs going down so that their housing dollars are worth more. So, whenever you want to get into a debate about whether, it's the workers' fault for demanding, fair wages, which at $15 an hour, that's still a fraction of what they were making 50 years ago when minimum wage was $1.50 an hour. We've had roughly 2,000% increase in inflation, okay, in the aggregate. Now, I'm saying, look, some stuff's gone down in cost, so your dollars are worth much more relative to any particular commodity like a VCR. But when we're talking about housing specifically, your dollars are worth bupkis. I mean, we've got to face this reality. They're worth nothing. And that's the criminality right there. You see, I don't object about market manipulation in gold, silver, diamonds, anything else, because it's not an essential human need. But where I object, and object loudly, is when it comes to manipulating the market of essential human needs, price fixing, price gouging, okay? It's just wrong, okay? It's just wrong. It's immoral, it's unethical, and anybody that wants to debate that point with me will lose, because there's only one right answer here, folks. Okay, either you're a good guy or you're not. Either you're fully on board with the right side of history or you're not. There's going to be a dividing line, and you're going to have to say which side of this thing I'm on. And just remember, if you think what you do is so important, just imagine you drop off the face of the earth tomorrow. Okay, and the world's going to go on just fine without any one of us. Okay, that's a matter of fact. So be ready to meet your maker at any given time. Any day might be your last day on earth. And that's it. And you're going to be stuck with a whole lot of people just like yourselves out there, okay? So if you think it's okay to be a little bit elitist, a little bit hypocritical, anti-egalitarian, to even have a smidgen of that and think it's okay, well, just understand this, that the caliber, the mentality of people you get to hang out with are the same that you are. So this is a very important issue, and you decide very carefully on which side of this thing you stand. Because there's only two sides. You're either on the side of humanity or you're on the side of inhumanity. Okay, you're either on the side of right or wrong, good or bad, light or darkness, on and on and on. And just understand this, that the good guy always prevails because all those good attributes are stronger than the negative ones. So good will eventually prevail on this earth. Knowledge and understanding, wisdom, accurate information is coming out. And people are all starting to put it all together. People are starting to understand fundamental economic principles because I'm not the only guy out there teaching them. There's other egalitarian economists out there that believe the same things I'm telling you, that tell you, look at this thing from afar, step back. You want to develop your reality properly? You want the right perspective on things? Step back and understand you're a cosmic creature. You're created by God. And you've got to look at this thing point blank from that aspect. You've got to see you are an equal. You're born on this earth. You're just as deserving and worthy as anybody else. No king or queen or prophet was ever any more important in the sight of God than you. That's the truth. Okay, in which case, this earth is a gift. God's got plenty of planets out there. The science suggests there's 500 million, yes, 500 million, 500 million planets in this galaxy, just the Milky Way galaxy, that are habitable out there. You understand? Not that we shouldn't be good stewards of the earth. You understand, but look at all the suppressed clean technology out there. And, I don't want to get too off track here because I'm trying to focus on what's happened here with the cost of living and the destruction of our currency. I'd like to explain this as succinctly as I can, and it's important to inject mathematics into it. And it's like this: if your cost of living goes up, whether it's man-made, artificial scarcity, Cloward and Piven, planned austerity, or if it's from a drought, a famine in the land, so to speak, whereby one commodity will get particularly dear, expensive that is. So your money goes down in worth, right? As the price of that commodity goes up, your money is worth less. It's just like a scale. So you need to see it like that. Okay, so if your cost of living goes up and your pay does not match that increase in your cost of living, then mathematically speaking, there's absolutely no difference than if the price had stayed the same and your wages went down. Now, who can refute that? That's a matter of fact. That's a matter of science. That's mathematics. That's the truth. That's just the way it is. There's only one right answer here. So that means that if you believe that's okay, then you are suggesting that it's okay that the wages of the workers keeps in decline, even though they're very productive, willing to work, not lazy, wanting to abide by biblical principles intuitively, instinctively, like a man shouldn't eat if he's not willing to work. Okay, because we have a conscience, we have an instinct to do these things. We have things we value that are invisible, like integrity, okay, honor, nobility of character. We want to be relevant. We want to be useful. We want to be needed. We want to be appreciated. Okay, so the fact of the matter is, if we could get away from money entirely, we would be even more productive because people are laid idle because, oh, well, we're not selling the products. You built enough cars, now we don't need you anymore until, we set the prices here, when if they lower the prices here, well, maybe everybody would drive new cars all of a sudden, and the workers could stay working. So you see, the whole thing is a setup. So when you talk about economic reality, okay, I know a lot more about what I'm talking about than Mr. Schiff. Now, he needs to listen to guys like me. My dad taught me, when bringing me up, that I needed to learn how to listen. This was critical, very important. He made it very clear, and in no uncertain terms, that I needed to learn how to listen. And I did, and I didn't always agree with what I had to listen to from my dad, but I still listened to him. And Peter Schiff, I might be the only really good friend you have to correct you. If you're out there, if you should by chance somebody forward this video to Peter Schiff, but talking directly to you, buddy, I might be your best friend, but you got to listen to guys like me. That this is about where your soul's going from here. Okay, this is about the kind of people you get to hang out from here, because I hear you say some really right-on things that I totally agree with. Okay, and anytime you want to slam the Federal Reserve money printing class, and the coup d'etat back in 1963, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's not play stupid here. then you know this destruction was destined decades ago. This was bound to happen.